Fantastic. Thanks very much. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can.
Perfect. So thank you again to NESA and Professor Payne and the Maritime Research Center, Dr. Das, for the opportunity, the invitation to speak today. I really applaud the efforts of the MRC and its underwater domain awareness. Today, in my brief remarks, I'm going to focus to a large extent on Japan, which has come up here and there, but not focused on perhaps as much, because I believe Japan's government is very much at the forefront in a lot of the maritime domain and underwater domain initiatives that we are discussing today. I'm going to organize my remarks around three main areas to think about the further collaboration and capacity building that could take place. First, for deep sea exploration. Second, for increased regional and international cooperation and capacity building. And the third is the growing importance of securing submarine fiber optic cables. First, to deep sea exploration. As mentioned by several of the speakers, seafloor mapping is still largely uncharted terrain for most nations. The world ocean covers approximately 70% of the Earth's surface, but only 15% is mapped. In 2017, the chairman of the Nippon Foundation revealed the foundation's Seabed 2030 initiative at the UN Ocean Conference. The Nippon Foundation teamed up with the General Bathymetric Chart of the Oceans to map the seafloors of the world ocean by 2030. As Seabed 2030 has ramped up, more than 200 partners across the private and public sectors and 50 nations have now joined the effort to contribute data to the global mapping project. Certainly, a greater understanding of the world's seabeds cuts both ways. On the one hand, it will enable greater support for oceanographic research that might be tied to geological fault line movements that cause earthquakes or tsunamis. It also has the benefit of contributing to enhanced climate research on new and unknown marine ecosystems or the general health of the ocean as temperatures rise. On the other hand, it provides valuable insights into potential future exploration and exploitation of rare earth elements deposited deep in the Earth's crust. If extracted in a sustainable fashion, these minerals could prove valuable as more nations seek greater energy, self-sufficiency, and carbon-neutral resources, in addition to being critical to future economic security and a general green transformation. The second point is increased regional international cooperation and capacity building. Beginning in the mid-2000s, the Japan International Cooperation Agency, or JICA, supported an increase to grant aid programs that provided Coast Guard vessels to like-minded partners and allies. Official Security Assistance, or OSA, has only been formally adopted when it was referenced in Japan's 2022 National Security Strategy, but the government's embrace of security assistance has been evolving over the past 2 decades. JICA first approved the donation of some of the first Coast Guard patrol vessels to Indonesia dating back to 2006. It also helped stand up Indonesia's first Coast Guard in 2005. Following the 2013 National Security, the government began to ramp up more of its security assistance programs systematically as it supported additional program in maritime safety and security amidst a rising China. In 2015, JICA and the Japan Coast Guard donated assets to the Coast Guards of Djibouti and Vietnam. The 6 donated ships to Vietnam helped to build up both its fisheries surveillance force and Coast Guard, and was part of a larger 500 million yen aid package dedicated to supporting maritime security. These aid packages were followed by vessel donations to the Philippines in 2016, Malaysia in 2017, Sri Lanka in 2018, and Kenya in 2019. In the Philippines, Japan has donated 12 patrol crafts, 13 fast boats, and a coastal radar surveillance system. By comparison, Kenya received 17 patrol vessels. In Sri Lanka, JICA financed 2 fast patrol craft and 2 offshore patrol boats as part of a recent $180 million package. Japan also regularly donates smaller and less expensive patrol craft, including a recent donation of 24 coastal rescue vessels to the Bangladesh Coast Guard in 2018. In addition to vessel donations, the Japan Coast Guard has been actively involved with joint exercises, trainings, strategic dialogues, diplomatic outreach, and other capacity building programs with numerous neighboring or regional nations since the late 1990s and early 2000s. In the Bay of Bengal, Japan's government has been actively involved with India's Coast Guard since 2000 as part of its sustained presence across the Indian Ocean. The two nations host the Sahyag Kaijin exercises that now includes the Maldives and Sri Lanka in an observer status. And beginning in 2013, Japan and Sri Lanka also established a dialogue on maritime security and oceanic issues, including increased cooperation on maritime law enforcement, search and rescue missions, humanitarian and disaster relief, and environmental protection. Japan's government has similarly signed multiple memorandums of cooperation with the Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Maldives, and Vietnam that include high-level meetings and joint maritime exercises. Japan has also signed a statement of intent in 2018 with Australia's Border Force, which does not have a Coast Guard or formal maritime law enforcement agency. Certainly, the bilateral relationship with Australia still has much room for growth and improvement. Across ASEAN and the Indo-Pacific, the Japan Coast Guard also has begun to deploy mobile cooperation teams to support local coast guards with a variety of capacity building assistance. The MCT programs began in 2017 when it deployed its first team to work with the Philippines Coast Guard and now has some 15 MCTs across the wider Indo-Pacific. The Japan Coast Guard also recently announced that it will build the largest Coast Guard vessel in the world at 30,000 gross tonnage. It'll even surpass that of China's Coast Guard vessel CCG 5901 in documentation that it continues to invest and push its Coast Guard deeper into the Indian Ocean. To the last point on the growing importance of securing submarine fiber optic cables. One additional component that is pushing Japan to becoming so vital to maritime security across the Indo-Pacific is the government's ability to produce, protect, and repair the submarine cables that line the ocean's floors. The estimated 540 undersea fiber optic cables that line the world ocean are responsible for transmitting more than 95% of voice and data traffic. This also amounts to around $10 trillion in financial transactions each day. Anything that disrupts the information and financial flows across these oceanic networks can have a significant spillover effect. As tensions rise in the Indo-Pacific and law of the sea issues become more salient, we have witnessed more submarine cable cleavages globally, along with new bureaucratic maneuvers by China to slow the laying of submarine cables. This should come as a significant wake-up call for Japan and others across the Indo-Pacific, and certainly has huge implications for the future. The rise of submarine cable cuts in recent years falls into a larger global pattern of growing security challenges tied to the subsea information highways from Europe to Asia. Japan in particular has an opportunity to become more of a regional and global leader in submarine cable laying, repair, and security. To begin, Japanese firms are frequently ranked as some of the world's largest submarine cable manufacturers. The top cable producer in the US is the US firm Subcom, while some of the other top manufacturers are Japanese, including the Nippon Electric Company, the subsidiary of the Nippon Electric Company, the Ocean Cable and Communication, and Fujitsu. The top 5 US, European, and Japanese together account for more than 90% of global cable production, while the Chinese-based Hengtong Optic Electric, an optical firm that acquired Huawei's submarine cable division in 2020, holds just 10% of the remaining market share. At present, Japan also has 4 to 6 repair and cable laying ships, compared with China that currently owns at least 2. The telecommunications firms Nippon Telegraph and Telephone and own or charter 2 or 3 each, while the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Forces reportedly owns 1 ship, the JS Maroto. Combined, they make Japan one of the most consequential cable laying and repair countries in the world. Following the momentum generated by former Prime Minister Kishida's announcement to double Japan's defense budget to 2% of Japan's GDP over the next several years, Prime Minister Ishiba's administration has an opportunity to advocate for further investments in the country's submarine cable laying and repair industry, in addition to the expansion of JCG, or Japan Coast Guard, and JMSDF platforms and assets that can protect against growing cyber domain threats and defend both Japanese and regional submarine cyber cable networks. The importance of undersea maritime domain awareness, including enhanced intelligence and cyber capabilities, is seemingly not lost in Japan's defense establishment. The activities of Japan Maritime Self-Defense Forces cable laying ship, the Maroto, are rarely publicized, and JMSDF members are reportedly tight-lipped about the ship operations. Yet, every year, the JS Maroto conducts cable laying exercises with the U.S. Navy at its base in Guam, a promising sign of awareness between the two allies of the necessity to defend these networks. The JMSDF, in conjunction with the Japan Agency for Marine Earth Science and Technology, or JOMSTEC, and the U.S. Navy, also continues to invest heavily in research and development of future generation UUVs. Furthermore, the JMSDF recently announced that it was standing up a newly organized and named Fleet Information Warfare Command to better coordinate and manage information warfare and a spectrum of naval domain awareness activities. Aside from a hard security angle, a ripe opportunity also exists for Japan's government to tie further investments into its free and open Indo-Pacific framework that aims to promote increased multi-layered connectivity and economic prosperity across the region. Japan has already demonstrated its leadership and ability to support several island nations, either under duress following a major natural disaster, or for nations that seek to upgrade their submarine cables and broader access to faster internet connections and the 5G network. Most recently in Tonga, Japan helped to support a repair of 56 miles of a subsea internet cable that had ruptured following a 7.6 magnitude earthquake. Japan also worked with Australia and the United States to finance and lay the Palau Spur cable in the Indian Ocean, the first trilateral infrastructure project of its kind. Beyond Oceania, other countries have similarly expressed a preference to work with Japan over other countries. Chile, for example, opted to reject a Chinese proposal in favor of one offered by Japan's government for the first submarine fiber optic cable between South America and the Indo-Pacific. Japan could indeed emerge as a vital alternative to the construction of new cross-regional cable networks. It's all to say, as shown here, that Japan's government really has the ability to remain as a world leader that can manufacture, repair, protect these highly valuable submarine cables across the global commons and the Indo-Pacific more broadly. So with this, I'll end my remarks. Thank you again for the opportunity to be here, and I very much look forward to the questions and follow-on discussion. Thank you.